welcome to On the Porch with Shawn McCadden and Tim Fowler. Good afternoon, Tim.
Good afternoon.
It's a beautiful afternoon, isn't it today?
It sure is. It's beautiful.
It is. Well, I think it's a great afternoon to talk about the Lead Carpenter System. What we'd like to talk about today is, in implementing a Lead Carpenter System, why would you want to do it? What are the benefits? Benefits, say, for the homeowner, for the carpenter themselves, and for the contractor. Maybe you first talk about what's the benefits for a carpenter to become a lead carpenter?
Okay, I think one of the greatest benefits is sort of professional growth. And so carpenters, in many cases, reach a point where skill level in terms of the craft of construction and so forth, they can do it, with the exception of maybe some very specialized skills. They're good at what they do already. And so professional growth really is a matter of taking on more responsibility. And so the Lead Carpenter System enables a lead carpenter to then take on the responsibility of managing a job site, managing the people, managing the homeowner, interacting on that management level. And I believe that really ought to encompass a greater income as well. And so I think another benefit to the carpenter is the opportunity to have a greater income, a raise in pay, if you will, for taking on more responsibility. Now, it isn't necessarily automatic. An individual has to show that they've actually able to do the skills that a lead carpenter takes on. But with greater responsibility should definitely come greater pay.
One of the things I noticed, Tim, as I was implementing a Lead Carpenter System at my company was that it wasn't that it was just professional growth for my employees, but I also noticed there was some personal growth for these people, not only, say, during their roles on the job, but maybe even outside of work. Do you find the same thing? Is there, that personal growth typically for a lead carpenter?
Yes, I think the personal growth is really, really big. What you find out is it has a lot to do with dealing with people. And of course, unless you're a hermit, you deal with people all the time. So the skills of communication is one of the big ones. The skill of learning how to communicate with somebody so that you can get a good outcome transcends the job site. It goes into a marriage. It goes into any club you might be part of. So there's those kinds of professional growth that translates into the personal life as well. In any company, you should have people moving from that laborer or helper position right on up. That's the best way for it to work in any company. And so if we extend that past the lead carpenter position, then we have the carpenter becoming a lead carpenter and picking up communication skills, perhaps some design skills because they now interact with more design professionals as opposed to just being told what to do. Estimating skills because now they're doing change orders perhaps or even helping in the initial estimating of a job. And so this opens up a lot more opportunities for this person who thought the rest of their life they'd be swinging a hammer. And as I know from getting there, you get a little older and swinging the hammer becomes tiresome and it hurts more. So it's often good to be able to learn those skills so that it might be moving into the estimating part of the company. It might be into design. And I've seen some good lead carpenters become very, very good salespeople because they have some natural sales skills anyway, but they've learned more about how to work with people so that it creates win-win, and that's what we want in sales. And so there is this great ladder of opportunity within this system.
So by using a Lead Carpenter System, then it's kind of like a testing ground and a proving ground, both for the lead carpenter to prove himself, but also at the same time for the company to observe, to see these skills that are starting to shine individually on the lead carpenters so that maybe in the future growth of the company can take advantage of those things?
That's right. And I'd just like to emphasize that it's not always going to be the case that good lead carpenters become good salespeople, designers, whatever. In fact, companies have to be careful that people really do learn those skills and promote people to those positions or those roles when they're really functional.
And when the company has the ability. I
Right.
mean, depending on the size, a business owner might not want to grow to 10, 15 million, right?
That's right.
Right?
That's exactly right.
So one of the things I'm seeing then, Tim, is particularly if they're using a real Lead Carpenter System,
Right.
and I would say, my opinion, going to your book, looking at the system the way you've defined it, that should be the industry standard. So if the company helps teach the lead carpenter within a standard system, then what I would assume is there's transferable skills. So even if this carpenter doesn't have opportunity to grow at this company, if he has standard skills that can go to the next company, maybe there's opportunity to go there, become a lead carpenter, grow at that other location, that other business.
That's right. And one of my goals has always been to standardize it a little bit across the country so that anybody working in the Washington, D.C. market could move to California and move into a company, and that everybody would know what a lead carpenter does within that company. But yes, those skills are very transferable. And if you can show yourself to be responsible, to be able to deal with people, be able to manage jobs, the opportunities for jobs are almost endless. Simply being a carpenter may not be good enough in many cases to get a job someplace else if you're going to be moving or if you just simply need a change in your position. So the transferability becomes greater because you have more skills.
Well, Tim, we've talked about the benefits to the carpenter, to the lead carpenter. Help me out. What might be some of the benefits then to the customer?
Well, the customer is really important to any business. And so handling them properly is huge. And so with the Lead Carpenter System, what we find happens that, again, a carpenter that is trained to communicate, trained to take care of the client, becomes the ambassador to the client from the business. And in the old days, if I can say that, subcontractors would funnel through a job. And so when the client would go to the person doing the framing and say, I'm not sure about this, why is this way? They'd say something like, well, that's what the plans say. And the client would feel like they're being put off, they're not being served by the company. Or they'd say, when are we going to do this? And the framer would say, I don't know, I'm just the framer. And so what we find with the Lead Carpenter System is now when the client has questions, this person who's running the project has the answers and is able to communicate them to the client. So they have this on-site ambassador. The thing that's important about that ambassador, though, is they very often become the friend of the client. And that's not in a bad way, but a friend in the way that even bad news from the ambassador is not as bad because they have a relationship now. This is somebody that the client sees on a daily basis. They have time to ask them questions. And so if the carpenter does have something that they have to tell the client that is bad news, then the client takes it a little bit easier generally because this is somebody that's solving their problems, that's helping them out, that they have gotten to like having in their house. And so a very definite benefit is this constant presence of somebody that knows what's going on that job and can answer questions and can deal with the difficulties that do come up on every project.